The Kelly Gang were a bushranging gang that began in the early months of 1878 after a confrontation with police ended with a wounded officer and the Kelly brothers, Ned and Dan, fleeing. Joined by two friends, Joe Byrne and Steve Hart, the four of them became known as the Kelly Gang. Their notoriety, however, came in October 1878 when the gang was responsible for the shooting of three Victorian police who had been out patrolling when the gang had ambushed them. The officers Sergeant Michael Kennedy and Constables Thomas Lonigan and Michael Scanlon were killed while Constable Thomas McIntyre was able to escape. It was following this event that the gang became true outlaws with a legacy still remembered today. Since the gang was originally formed in the eyes of public opinion, they have obviously been deemed as a bad sort. Immediately following the initial confrontation at the Kellys' home, their dwellings were described as the nest of some expert horse stealers, cattle duffers, and general robbers. The reporting papers also exhibited intrigue into the character of Ned Kelly and found him to be the perfect villain. Reportedly spoken by Kelly himself to the officer involved, it would be no use the police attempting to hunt him down, as he was too well acquainted with the country and could watch the police without himself being seen. He also stated that he would never again be taken alive. Being notorious, the Kelly Gang were a widely popular source of newspaper content, which is why there are hundreds of newspaper articles from numerous papers all over Victoria that documented their 2-year career. Much of this content built their reputation with recounts of daring escapades. However, following the shootout that killed 3 police officers, the gang's reputation escalated from intriguing to dangerous. The shooting was described as a terrible encounter, almost without parallel in Victoria. The members of the gang's identities were also transformed, as it was reported that 4 most unscrupulous ruffians are at large in the colony, and that no effort must be spared in securing them immediately. It is also important to note in this same article, reference was made to the shooting that started the gang. Its recount changed from a gunshot wound to the arm that was portrayed to be without aggression or malice, to the officer being beaten to the ground insensible. The gang's status in the media was changed, which therefore swayed some public opinion to associate them with menace. One newspaper article simultaneously generalised the gang in their actions while creating an enemy out of them. It reads, "Unfortunately, the unsettled condition of a young country must always be favourable to the exploits of such monsters as Kelly and his gang. They have already taken 2 innocent lives, and there is no saying how many more may be sacrificed before they are brought to justice." While much has been published in regards to the Kelly Gang and their actions, there was little in comparison to the victims of the shootings. While there was references to the fallen police members, it was primarily stiff and emotionless. One example read, "The 2 constables who have been shot were both efficient members of the force." Being quite formal, it is apparent that most papers were only concerned with the facts as evidenced, as it was written, "Lanigan leaves wife and 6 children." One article, however, provided little more than just fact and even offered a small amount of credit to one of the officers. Sergeant Kelly is well known as one of the ablest and best men in the northeastern district. These rigid and unfeeling reports of the victims are credited to the era in which the crimes were committed, with the emphasis being primarily on fact and death being treated less of a tragedy due to it being rather more common and at younger ages in the late 1800s. As already established, there has been some mixed responses to the actions and accounts of the Kelly Gang. While many articles simply narrate events and there isn't much to indicate the feelings of the author, some highlight the opinions and prejudices of the writer. On one end of the scale, there is loathing for the gang that shines through. For example, it is gratifying to know that no romantic sympathy is expressed for them, but that, on the contrary, a general feeling of horror and detestation has been excited by their enormities. Such an opinion highlights a portion of the population, but not all, as some find the action-packed adventures of the Kelly Gang rather exciting. For example, the affair has naturally caused a great sensation, as, since the days of the notorious Morgan, no such daring event has occurred in the colony. Contrast in opinions aids in gathering more information as different perspectives create depth. If such an event had happened in today's society, however, the media's reaction would have been definite in condemning the actions. Modern values dictate that murder, especially that of police, is unacceptable and in some cases disgusting. In addition, emotion play an important part in gaining the public sympathy. Through this, it is evident that the media has developed from recounting events to a tool of swaying public attention, sympathy, and anger.